Welcome to Straight Shot Politics. Each episode will bring you in-depth discussion with experts, community leaders, and analysts who will share their insights, experiences, and predictions. From local elections to global diplomacy, we'll provide you with the tools and perspectives you'll need to navigate today's real-world landscape.
Welcome to Straight Shot Politics. I'm Lisa Chafee.
And I'm Michael Nash.
So, Mike, we're 2 weeks away from the 2025 election, but our guest today is up for election in 2026.
Well, you can't start early enough, right?
Right. So we have with us today our current state treasurer, Robert Sprague, who has also served as city treasurer and auditor for Findlay, Ohio, and as an Ohio state representative. He also happens to be a devoted husband and father of 5 kids. That's a lot of work.
That's a lot of work. 5 kids.
Now, you know my favorite Jim Gaffigan joke? He's, by the way, my favorite comic. All right?
Okay.
And it's all clean comedy. It's so hilarious. He also has 5 children. He says, look, he said, having a big family nowadays is a lot like having a waterbed. Yep. It used to be that everyone had one. Now they're just weird.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
That is true.
That's
funny.
Okay.
So, Mr. Sprague, you are running for Secretary of State.
Mm-hmm.
You were going to run for governor.
I was. Vivek hopped in. I decided to endorse him. I said, look, he's a billionaire. He's an entrepreneur. He's an outsider. He's going to reimagine the way that government works. I liked what he had to say. I said, he's the guy. I'm going to turn around. How can I best serve my state? And honestly, I also thought about going back into the private sector. I've started my own consulting company when I was a much younger man. Look how much gray hair I have now. And thought about just doing
okay.
that.
It all blends well. Looks good. It's all very, very well blended. And yeah, it goes good.
But the Secretary of State's office is tremendously important because if you lose faith in the election system as the people of the United States, then really the legitimacy of the entire government comes crashing down.
Right.
And we saw that with Donald Trump. We saw that in 2020, the doubt, almost the revolution that occurred and the fight over the elections. And I thought, hey, here's a place where a trusted steward, someone who understands what they're doing. I've got a lot of experience with technology also. I know that it's people. I know that it's process. I know that it's technology all together. Someplace that I could add some value still as an elected official. And I also feel very strongly that this is the only way to secure our rights from the government is to be able to exercise that election and be able to control the government ourselves. It's the only thing that maintains our rights under the United States Constitution. And so I'm running to be your next Secretary of State.
So election integrity has been a very hot topic for a couple of years now, and we've seen some crazy stuff come out of on Election Day, like the ballot harvesting, the stuffing the boxes. And I've heard from several people, I've seen it online, well, so you caught one person who's an illegal immigrant voting. So what? What's the big deal? What do you say to that?
Well, just to go to that ballot harvesting, have you seen the video of the Michigan councilman that was literally stuffing the ballot box with votes?
No, I didn't see that one. I saw the one from Atlanta during Trump's election.
So they arrested him, charged him with, stuffing the ballot box, right? For this, city election up in Michigan as a city councilman. Here's the thing. Don't you wonder where he got all those ballots from?
Exactly. Yes.
They just had a homeless encampment out in California. This is last week. All right. They went into the homeless encampment. There's a bunch of trash all over the place, a bunch of mail from the United States Postal Service, thousands of pieces of mail. You know what else was there?
Ballots, I'm guessing.
99 ballots.
Wow.
In all of that mail. And so you wonder, wait a second, if somebody in a homeless encampment can get 99 ballots that are unvoted, where did those ballots come from? How are they able to do that? And also, who is voting those ballots?
Right.
That is
homeless encampment.
And now listen, homeless people are valid sovereign citizens of the United
Yes, they
States of
are.
America, and they deserve the right to vote. But my point is, you can't just send out ballots and have them out there, because the danger is that somebody else votes those ballots.
Right.
And I think this is the fundamental issue, which is, we want to make sure that it's people that are voting those ballots, not entries in a computer from, say, North Korea.
Right. Or say a dog.
Say a dog.
A dog?
Why? What do you mean, Lisa? Why a dog?
Well, I think I heard somewhere that a dog in California voted twice.
Voted twice. Yes, I've heard that story too.
What?
This
crazy.
is
A
insane.
dog voted twice.
It's crazy. All right, so I got to tell you this story.
Okay.
It's
This is crazy. This is nuts.
It's pretty incredible. So the dog's name is Maya Jean.
Okay.
All right. Now, she voted twice. She voted in the 2021 recall election for Gavin Newsom. Very, very smart dog. First of all, she figured out how to register to vote. But the reason that we really know that she was smart is she did vote to recall Gavin Newsom from the governorship.
Well, at least it's a good boy or a good girl, right?
Yeah.
Right.
She got a treat for that one.
Exactly.
Right.
And then voted again in 22, the primary election, after she passed away. And the Secretary of State's office only found it when the dog owner, probably not a great idea, posted a picture on social media of Maya Jean's dog tag, along with a copy of the ballot that the dog owner was voting and filled out and was voting, with a caption underneath that said, "Maya Jean is still getting her ballot." All right. Now, the crazy part about this is, first of all, you go, that's insane. How could anybody vote a dog? But of course, it's California, right? So you think, all right, well, maybe it could happen. True story was on Channel 5. They did an interview with the dog owner. She's being prosecuted now for voter fraud.
But I bet you if she'd voted to keep Gavin Newsom, they wouldn't touch her.
They would have looked the other way, right? But the point in this is, and it's kind of funny, but it's kind of scary too.
Yeah.
Because certainly if Maya Jean's owner can figure out how to rig a ballot,
Yeah.
do you think for 1 second with World War or China's invasion of Taiwan or everything that's at stake in the Middle East and the amount of oil that's over there, or war, I mean, literally the survival of Europe is now at stake in Poland, you think that Russia is not going to send people over here to vote those ballots and control the election if they possibly can?
Exactly.
So how do you know? And I mean, I think that certainly you hear of instances of illegal immigrants voting, right, every once in a while. But the real threat here is you don't know who's on the other end of that ballot. And the only secure way for people to vote ultimately is to vote in person and to be able to show your government-issued photo ID. And as your next Secretary of State, we will never apologize for making people share their voter ID and prove that they're a citizen of the United States and who they are when they show up to be placed on the voter rolls. I'm going to make sure that everyone is an American citizen who is registered to vote here in the state of Ohio, because it's my belief that we need to comply with Article 5 of the Ohio Constitution. And it says that only American citizens can vote in Ohio elections. And I'm going to enforce it.
So on our driver's license, if you are a legal citizen from another country, here on a work visa, or you're in the process of getting ready to take the citizenship test, does it say on the driver's license or the state ID that they are a legal citizen or a non-citizen on there?
I believe that it has on the back what the status is.
Okay.
It's in very small print. You got to read it, and not everybody checks it, to be honest with you. But here's why that's important, and also why it's not important. What the election officials will tell you is if that person shows up, if they vote a provisional ballot, in other words, they're not on the voter roll for that precinct, but they show up, they show their voter ID, maybe they don't check it. Maybe it's even an illegal immigrant that has a driver's license in the state of Ohio, that ultimately when they go to count the votes, that vote won't count because it's a provisional ballot. They'll go back and see that there was no registration for that person and it's a void.
Okay, good.
Or there's a paw print.
I was waiting for that.
Yeah.
Because I know when I first moved back up here in 2010 and I went to vote, I not only had to have my ID, but I had to have an electric bill and some other kind of bill to prove that I was actually living there. This is out in Reynoldsburg that I had to do that, which I thought was a little weird. I mean, you've got my address on the driver's license and, you know.
So there's two components of what's going on in the Ohio Constitution. It says there's several different criteria. You cannot be mentally insane. There's a couple of other things. But the key criteria are that you're over the age of 18, number one. Number two, that you're a resident of the state of Ohio. And I'm sorry, a resident of that area where you're allowed to vote. And then number three, and the most important, is that only American citizens can vote in the elections.
Right.
So that's all part of the Ohio Constitution. So that is an effort to find proof of all those different factors, right? That you're over the age of 18, that you're a resident. So the utility bill, they're trying to justify the fact that you're a resident. How do you prove that you live someplace? I mean, it's kind of hard, right? And the utility bill in your name is an attempt to prove that. But ultimately, what we want to do to be able to prove citizenship is you're going to have to do one of two things. Number one, we're going to have to go check the federal database because the federal government ultimately knows who is a citizen and who isn't.
Right.
So we could either bounce that back off the federal government, or you can choose to show a birth certificate or a passport or consular proof of birth or another document to the BMV. Like to get your real ID, and we can check with the BMV behind the scenes. But if that doesn't come back affirmative, then we need to make sure that people are providing original documents the first time, only the first time when you go to register to vote, to make sure that we're only having American citizens registered in the state of Ohio to vote. Now, look, people are going to say ugly things about this.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to say you're trying to suppress the vote. I would say, well, then is the Ohio Constitution trying to suppress the vote? Because when that went before the people of the state of Ohio, Frank LaRose led the charge as our current Secretary of State to put that before the voters of Ohio, that only American citizens can vote in Ohio elections. The people of the state of Ohio approved that by 77% of the people. You can't find anything nowadays that 77% of the people agree on.
Right.
Except that only American citizens should vote in Ohio elections. Now, I don't know if you want to call 77% of the people trying to suppress the vote in the state of Ohio, but they all think that it's a good idea that you're an American citizen, and the only way to make sure of that is that you got to show some ID.
Well, and what people forget is the Voting Rights Act was in 1965, I believe, that protects us against voter suppression right there. That's federal law. So we're not going to do anything in Ohio to violate federal law. That's number one. So the other concern is, so President Trump now wants to do one-day holiday on Election Day and paper ballots. Now, this is where people get confused, so I need you to explain this so people can understand. If we do just paper ballots, does that mean the voting machines go away? Because we touch it, it prints it out on paper, and then we drop it in the slot. So is it going to be the machines going to do it for us and when we push the buttons, or are we going to have to fill it all out by hand?
The best way and the most safe and secure way would be for us to fill it out by hand.
Agreed.
It would be the easiest. Now, you could say maybe that should be left up to the Board of Election. What is critical is that I have a piece of paper in front of me. It's a separate ballot. Ballot, by Merriam-Webster's definition, is a secret piece of paper. That's what and it says in Ohio's Constitution that all elections will be by secret ballot. So that is that piece of paper. It doesn't say, and it doesn't prescribe how you get that piece of paper, but you're allowed to vote by that piece of paper. And on that piece of paper, you should see who you were able to vote for. I was able to vote for this person for president, this person for state representative, so on and so forth. So, and you take that piece of paper and you submit it in the ballot box, and then we'll talk about the machines.
I will say that was my next segue. The machine itself is just simply a way to you're pressing the buttons. As my first recollection of voting was going to a booth and the curtain pulled behind you pulled some levers, you threw a switch, and then that counted, right? But now this is an electronic voting device where you go to a kiosk, and you're pressing buttons. You're then selecting your selection through the kiosk. The kiosk prints the ballot, and the ballot is a piece of paper that's printed. That's your actual ballot that you shove into the counter. The counter is that machine at the end of the line that reads what it was you voted for, right?
That's right, but your vote is that piece of paper.
Okay.
Okay. You cannot, and under the Ohio Constitution, you cannot accept a machine as a vote. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So
Your actual vote is the piece of paper. Now, you could use technology to tabulate the pieces of paper,
Right.
but only, and this is why I want to move to all paper ballots for every election in the state of Ohio. Exactly this reason. All right, and that's what I will do as Secretary of State. You will have a separate ballot. I would like to see the boards of elections have you fill it out manually with a pen or a piece of or a pencil. All right, you'll be able to vote that separate piece of paper. Why is that important? It creates an audit trail.
Right.
Right now, I can go back and I can count this stack of paper. Right, I got this stack of note cards in front of me. If I have any doubt whatsoever in terms of what the machine is doing, or if the machine is fraudulent, or if the machine has been violated by one of our enemies, I don't even have to worry about that. Why?
Yeah.
Because I will go back and I will count the paper. All right.
When I did a out of state voting when I first started voting back in the 80s, there was actually a ballot they sent to me in the mail. It was a punch sort of ballot. I had to take out a Chad. I call that word Chad because that reminds us of Florida back in the day, right? I took out a Chad of who I was voting for. It gave me a pen with it, and I had to move the Chad off to a space that said this is discarded Chads. And the whole remove from where I was voting was the actual vote for an out of state, or not out of state, but a
military
type vote, right?
Mm-hmm. And so I think that what we also don't want to keep making the same mistakes over and over again, right?
Well, that's just the definition of insanity.
Right. So
Yeah.
there are problems with counting the paper.
Right.
One of the significant problems is that if we took 10,000 ballots here at the studio and it took us 3 hours, let's say, to count those 10,000 ballots, in all likelihood, I would end up with a different number than what you did, Lisa, and then you would end up with a slightly different number also, Mike.
Right.
And then the question becomes, whose number is right?
Right.
And then we got to go back and we got to recount them to make sure that, figure out who, and if we can finally arrive on the same count, it takes us a long period of time. And it wouldn't be for just one race. See, that's the problem.
Yeah.
They've got the school board, whatever, levy, and then they've got the mental health levy, and then there's all these things on the ballot that have to be tabulated, and it takes, for human error, and look, I know this as a former auditor for Ernst & Young, there's going to be human error.
Oh, yeah.
So what I'd like to see is you could use the machines to remove the human inaccuracies, but you need to count the paper via a human count to check the machines, whether or not the machines are fraudulent. Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah,
So
that makes sense.
What I was taught at Ernst & Young is you always have people and process and technology that work together to create security. And so you want to have processes that are secure. You want to have people as a double check on the technology. That's what we do in the treasurer's office. And then you want to have technology that you think is safe and protected.
All right, so let me ask you this question. So, Secretary of State's office, a lot of people think it's only about election day. So what are the not so sexy functions of the Secretary of State's office that you think can be streamlined?
Well, I think you've also got the business filings. And I can tell you, I'm an entrepreneur. So I started my own consulting firm. And it's difficult. It's difficult to start any kind of a business. And you never know what it's like to start a business till you almost run out of money. I can tell you that. Yeah, that's a big motivating factor for success.
Yeah, it is indeed.
And what you want to try to do to allow people to get off the ground is make things as easy as possible. And Frank LaRose has done a great job with the business side of the office. It's only $99 to file. We're hoping that we can keep it at that same amount. And the filing is expedited. It's very efficient. What I would love to see us do is also create a one-stop shop eventually for the Secretary of State's office, where as a business filer, you can do everything in one place. So you can not only get your business filing done. You can get your tax ID. You can get your Bureau Workers Comp number, right? Nobody knows what this stuff is.
Right.
Wouldn't it be so nice to have a piece of artificial intelligence behind that would take your information and automatically help you in these other areas so that you as an entrepreneur or as a business owner, you don't have to hire a bunch of attorneys and spend a bunch of money to try to get your business open, because believe me, you're going to have to spend that money on a whole lot of other things.
Well, I firmly believe in work smarter, not harder.
Exactly. Is this the cryptocurrency thing we're talking about?
No.
Really?
No, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's something entirely different.
Entirely different.
So since you brought up crypto,
Right.
Do you have any crypto?
I don't understand crypto in the least bit. So until someone can make my brain process it, I'm not touching it with a 10-foot pole.
I understand crypto, but it's still very infant in its infancy to deal with, and I'm not sure if I want to or not.
It's okay. I totally understand. You're within your rights to not want to touch it. What convinced me to tackle this in the Treasurer's office is this understanding that they're now using the artificial intelligence to design the chips, like for the GPUs, the NVIDIAs, and they're now using then the chips to make the AI faster, and then they use the AI to make the chips faster. So it becomes this loop. Does that make sense?
A little bit, yeah.
So it's this convex loop, and what's going to happen is instead of this whole thing for artificial intelligence proceeding linearly, it's going to be exponential in terms of the growth. And you think, well, why does that matter, Robert? Well, it matters because what's going to happen is that the businesses are going to move more and more to agentic payments. In other words, the artificial intelligence agent is actually going to process the payments for businesses. So you will say, as the controller for your company, they will present, the AI agent will actually be better than an accountant. It'll go through all your invoices at the end of the day, say, Robert, would you like to pay these? Here's the match between the invoice and what you need to pay. And you say yes, and they will initiate payment, and they are probably going to use a digital currency to pay that transaction to another company. Now, this is all, it's off in the distance, but it's going to happen relatively quickly as they begin to evolve all these AI agents. And so for a long period of time in Ohio, we've kind of been the laggards, for lack of a better term. And we want to be on the forefront of this because you want to, as Wayne Gretzky says, you don't want to skate to where the puck is. You want to skate to where the puck is going.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're talking about Ohio being open for business. This is what the businesses want to see because they're all going to be using this. And it's not the future in Ohio or the United States. It's the future globally. Like this is coming down the pike. More and more of these transactions are going to occur in a digital currency. So we decided in the Treasurer's office that we had a choice. We could either lead or we could follow. Now, if you follow, you got to accept what all these other states did. They get to set the parameters. We thought, well, if we lead, number one, we are very, very good at what we do, and we're going to make sure that it's safe for the people of the state of Ohio and that the platform is stable. But number two, we get to set the pace. We get to make the decisions about what the future looks like in Little Ohio. Why? Because there's only one other state that is directly accepting cryptocurrency. We would be the second, and by far the biggest in the United States.
Wow. Who else?
And so I know Colorado, Utah, and Louisiana all say that they accept crypto, but Colorado and Utah really accept it just through PayPal. So they're really just accepting PayPal, and PayPal will accept a digital wallet or digital currency.
Okay.
We will directly accept the coin, actually.
Okay.
And Louisiana is the only other state that does that right now.
Wow. Louisiana's coming far.
They are. And so we are immediately going to convert that into dollars and only hold dollars in the state treasury. But that ability to process transactions is very important for the economic future of both the state of Ohio and also the United States of America, for us to lead in this whole aspect of artificial intelligence and digital currency, because it's going to be the wave of the future.
So I know we're going to be running out of time here quickly, but I want you to tell us about the Buckeye Business Advantage program.
This program is so great. Nobody knows about it, but every manufacturer that we've gone to visit that we've told about it, they love it. We had a manufacturer down in Dayton that sat across the table from me, and I said, look, if you want to bring jobs back to Ohio, if you want to expand production in your manufacturing company, I'm going to reduce your interest rate by 3% on up to $1 million loan for 2 years. And he turned and he looked at me and he said, Robert, this is the most impactful program that the state of Ohio may have. Because he said, I'm paying 10.25% interest right now. And because it's unsecured, uncollateralized loan, he said, if you're able to lower that down to 7.25%, that makes a world of difference for our company, for us to be able to expand. And look, most of manufacturing now, it's not just manual. There's a lot of automation involved. And so you have to buy the latest equipment and the up-to-date equipment to increase your productivity.
And pay somebody to run it.
And pay people a lot of money to run it. I mean, these are really good jobs that are being created. And, manufacturing has always been our backbone in the state of Ohio. And all this AI stuff is great, but at the end of the day, if you want to be able to make things still, you're going to come to Ohio.
Yep.
We got the energy, we got the water, we've got the workforce, we've got the capital, we've got the infrastructure in terms of the distribution, roads and the bridges and all that. Like, we were built for this. And so that is my objective. Donald Trump is right. The interest rates are too high at the Federal Reserve level. What we're doing is using our $25 billion balance sheet of your taxpayer money to lower those interest rates by 300 basis points and front run the Fed to make it available so that these small businesses can expand here again in the state of Ohio.
That sounds exciting.
It does.
So if anybody would like to help you with your campaign to be our next Secretary of State, how can they do that?
Well, first of all, we announced last week that what is good for the ganders is good for the goose. And I've decided to accept Bitcoin on my state campaign website as well.
Awesome.
Oh, how about that?
Not from the same vendor that we're using in the office, but from a different vendor. We thought it was important to keep up with the times. We want to be a modern campaign. So if you have I'm looking for one donor to donate one Bitcoin at $110,000. All right. One of your listeners is out there
I
that
got
has
one right
one,
here. Hang
right?
on. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And you can go to www.spragueforohio.com. And you can also put in dollars there as well. But it's a great website. It has our election security platform on it. Some more information about me personally as a candidate, and we'd love to have.
It's a nice
people
website. I
visit.
just checked it out.
I'm looking at it right now.
You're also going to need, in addition to money, you're going to need boots on the ground. So, as our dear friend Chairwoman Meredith Friedhoff likes to say, time, treasure, talent. So if you can give anything, if you can knock on doors, that'll be, about this time next year, you're going to need those people. So everybody sign up on the website. I'm sure you have an email list of some sort.
We do. There's a volunteer button on there. And so please, we would love to have you volunteer. Come be part of our team. Come transform the election system, not just in the state of Ohio, but let's set the stage nationally and make Ohio once again the gold standard for election security.
I love it.
Excellent.
Treasurer Robert Sprague, thank you so much for joining us today. This has been Straight Shot Politics.